Today, let's dive into the immune system a little bit. And the part of the immune system that I want to dive into, and obviously there are tons of different parts that we could dive into, but I want to talk about how brain dominancy really affects your immune system. And people ask me all the time, is it better to be left brain dominant? Is it better to be right brain dominant? And the answer is neither, right? We want to have balance between the two sides. And when we have that balance, we have the capability to turn things on. We have the capability to turn things off. So I'm Dr. Jeff Cumro, and I've had the pleasure of working with thousands of people over the last 15 years. And really what my focus is helping them optimize their brain function. When we can get that brain function optimal, it makes learning easier, it makes behavior better. It helps with stress handling. It decreases the risk of further diseases and things like that. So, that's really been the focus of my practice. So let's go ahead and dive in here and talk a little bit more about this. So when we have left brain dominancy, we tend to see things like type 2 ADHD, type 3 ADHD, that would be the hyperactive and combined types. Autoimmunity is more common on that side. Autism is more common. So there are a lot of different things that go with this. And the reason that our immune system is affected is a little different than when we look at right brain dominancy. In right brain dominancy, we look at dyslexia, type 1 ADHD, which would be the inattentive type, depression, things like that. So there are a bunch of different things that go into each one, and how the immune system is affected is a totally different animal. So when we have that left brain dominancy, we end up having a situation where the parts that start our immune system work better, and that's why we have a little bit of that's why we're a little more prone to autoimmunity in these cases, is that left side is over firing. So it starts that immune system running. And that you would think would be a good thing for immune function, right? But there's two things that really hold this back. So when we're constantly running through all of that different, all the different resources to keep our immune systems going, and our immune systems take a lot of resources. If we're going to run the whole thing, it takes a ton of resources to continue to get that moving in the right direction. So sooner or later, the more activated our immune system is, our immune system can't continue to run because we run out of resources. So it dampens down the effect. So people with left brain dominancy, even though their immune system is firing more, can end up having more infections because they're just out of resources. The other part of the immune system that's affected in left brain dominancy, we tend to see decreased methylation. And we talked deeply about this last week. We talked about the MTHFR marker and how that affects all the different things. MTHFR, or methylation in general, basically have a big role in detoxification of the body as well. Now, where do we run into immune issues with this? If we can't detoxify the body as well, we've constantly got the level of toxicity rising. When the level of toxicity is rising, our immune system tries to basically counteract that. And even if our immune system isn't able to counteract that, so what would it be an example of that? If we have heavy metals in the system, if we have plastics in the system, if we have any kind of chemical, like environmental toxins, glyphosate is one that we see a lot, is building up in the system. Those things can't be killed off, right? Because they're not actually biotoxins. They're not viruses. They're not bacteria. They're things that our immune system do not work on. But it doesn't stop our immune system from trying. Our body doesn't know what to do with them. So it brings up immune function. And with that, again, you run through your resources more quickly. The level answer on this is how do we go get rid of this? We have to improve our ability to detoxify, and there are different ways that we can do this, right? We can increase our methylation, so we can take supplements that will improve our methylation. We can take creatine or different things like that. If you're more interested in that, watch last week's video. It has more detailed information on how we can do that. But the detoxification process does play a big role in our immune function. Now, looking at the right side of things, if we are right brain dominancy, so if you have dyslexia, if you have depression, things like that, your immune system doesn't tend to work as well. Why is that? The left brain tends to turn things on, whether that's movement, whether it's the immune function, whether it's thought, things like that. The right brain tends to dampen it down, right? So when we have a dominant right brain, we don't have the ability to overcome that lower functioning left brain, and we keep that turned down to a certain extent. Does that mean we don't have immune function? Obviously not. It just means we have dampened immune function. So the processes for this are totally different than when we're facing that left brain dominancy. And what do you see in this? You see people who get chronic infections. Those people that they're constantly fighting off a cold. If somebody has something, they're going to get it. That's what we see in right brain dominancy. Now, again, we can see that in left brain dominancy too, if the immune system gets to the point where it's dampened down too much. So what ultimately is the answer for this? How can you minimize the impacts that this has on your life? You can improve the quality of the things that you're taking in, right? So if you're taking in better quality nutrition, it's going to improve your outcomes. You're going to have better resources. It's going to help balance things out. When we look at brain function, a lot of that is metabolic in nature. It does not mean that metabolic therapies in general are going to help stimulate that, right? We've got to help to stimulate that weakness to balance all of that out. But by having better nutrition, we improve our metabolic output, and when we have the output that we need to run all the systems, everything works better. Other things you can optimize: minimizing stress, making sure you're getting plenty of sleep, making sure that when you are under a lot of stress, you are doing the things you can to minimize it, whether that be journaling or meditation or prayer or whatever you lean to in those cases. Getting plenty of water to run everything. So any way that you can minimize your stress, whether that's dietary, whether that's meditation, whether that's hydration, whatever happens, all of that. The other thing that is probably going to be more important in the long term, short term you could get through with changes in the stress system, but in the long term, if you really want to change this, what we need to do is stimulate that brain weakness to bring more balance into the system. And I say if you really want to make that change, it is a change that you want to make, right? This is something that does play a bigger impact on your life as things go on. Why do I say that? When we look at right brain dominancy, we tend to look more at the susceptibility to Parkinson's. When we look at left brain dominancy, we tend to look more at the susceptibility to Alzheimer's. Does this mean you're going to get it? No, it does not necessarily mean that you're going to get those, but you are more prone to those. So long term, when we start to build up toxicity, our brain doesn't clear that out. When we don't clear that out, the immune system basically has an impact on the areas that are struggling. So we end up seeing some dampened down brain function, and we see some increased susceptibility for some of these other types of dementia or other neurodegenerative disorders. So it is something that you want to change. And when we can find that underlying weakness in the brain and we can stimulate that and bring more balance into the system, not only do we improve immune function, but we also improve your long-term health. We improve your long-term susceptibilities and all those different things that go with that. So I hope that this helps. Obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, put a comment below. If this is helpful, please like and subscribe. It does give me good information as far as what information you are finding helpful. When I know that, I can supply more of that. So I love you guys. I appreciate you, spending a little bit of time with me, and I will catch you on next week's video.